Throughout the past 10 years, my life had unexpectedly become a part of Colonial Williamsburg. In the early years of visiting the town, like a lot of others, I was mostly only fixated on learning about the well-known early American patriots that had dwelt in the area. As the years went on, I began to research more and more about not just the history of Williamsburg, but also began to grow really curious about the authenticity of all the homes and buildings found within the city. And that's where the idea for this 30-minute documentary came to be. It touches on the story of the man who had the initial vision to restore the 18th century buildings and the entire city that stood here long ago, even long before the Revolution. It's really a remarkable story and achievement that few have heard about in much detail. Just a powerful story that I feel deserves to be told. And this documentary will briefly touch on the life and the backstory of the visionary behind the restoration, as well as some of the early challenges he took on to find funding for the restoration. The story's also going to delve into the philanthropist responsible for funding the efforts that allowed Williamsburg to rise again. I really believe this story will appeal to anyone that loves Colonial Williamsburg and wants to just understand the city they are visiting more clearly. The documentary will be an easily digestible historical account based on some of the challenges and efforts that took place to bring the colonial city of Williamsburg that we see here today back to life as it once stood. My holdup is I require the licensing of historical images needed to visually tell the story more effectively and to be able to legally release my documentary. Altogether, I need roughly 50 historical photos that are currently in the film and watermarked, but will have to be removed if I can't raise the funding needed to keep them in the documentary and remove their watermarks for legal usage. To be able to deliver this film worldwide on meaningful platforms, a combination of hopefully broadcast, definitely internet and printable copies, requires a license fee of $270 per each individual historical image used within the film, as priced by the Colonial Williamsburg Foundation on their website. This amounts to $13,500 for the historical images plus some of the travel expenses necessary for completing filming. Each person making a financial contribution will be included within the ending credit roll of the film as a special contributing donator to the documentary film. For contributions of $270 or more, you will also be included in the opening title credits found at the beginning of the film. In advance, I'd like to thank you for any consideration of helping me fund this film, and I look forward to the soon hopeful release of this documentary. In the meantime, here's a brief look at just the beginning of the documentary film before it segues into a more in-depth look at the father of the restoration of Colonial Williamsburg. I hope you like it, and thanks again for any consideration of helping me fund this film. As a new or frequent visitor to Colonial Williamsburg, eventually a curiosity regarding the city's authenticity is bound to form in your mind and raise a popular question many have wondered. Are all of these really the original structures that stood here during colonial times? With each walk taken up and down the Duke of Gloucester Street, along the Palace Green, and amid the capital of early colonial Virginia from long ago, a growing curiosity in the story of how the Williamsburg we see here today came to be is sure to take hold. A place where our American forefathers lived and forged a road to independence, right here along the lands that make up the old city. The government buildings, homes, taverns, storefronts, and many structures that still lie here, so well preserved. Logically thinking, you might begin to realize it could be a bit of a stretch to believe they all endured the test of time and stand here now as they once stood way back then. When clarity reveals itself, and surely it will, realizing this patch of historical landmarks is indeed a carefully planned and executed restoration of what once was here, with over 88 original structures and many more houses, shops, and outbuildings, fully reconstructed on their original foundations. Initially, your unknowingness will sit alongside just a slither of disappointment. That is, until you begin exploring the story behind the restoration itself, and why understanding the city's rebirth will only heighten your experience exploring the areas that make up the colonial city of Williamsburg each time you visit here. A resilient and remarkable vision to preserve the remaining weathered and deteriorated 18th century colonial structures that still resided here in the early 20th century, while resurrecting others which had long since faded due to years of neglect and change. A timeline of perseverance with the pursuit of enabling modern-day visitors the opportunity to traverse the areas and explore the history that many great men and women of the Revolution once roamed. To see what they saw, to walk where they walked, to enter into places they've been. It's all right here, and the story of its restoration is longing to be told. So your next visit to Colonial Williamsburg is enlightened with a new historical understanding, new meaning, new purpose, discerned through the vision of those who dreamed and ventured to bring it all back to life, as it once was, long ago.